That's right. Here we go. Episode 71 of the Hardline Sports Talk. We are back. I'm Michael Merlo. I've got John Michael Mauceri here. JM, how are you on this very nice August evening?
I'm doing fantastic, Michael. Yeah, episode 71. That was my football number in high school, so you
A
know,
little
right.
nostalgic.
Exactly. It's good. This is my episode. This is I
That's
can't
yours.
I can't screw it up now.
Yeah, you can't be bad.
Yeah.
Don't be bad.
What are you wearing the
But
blackout outfit right now?
yeah, I'm thinking about going to the blackout Friday night. So I don't know. We'll see. See how I feel on Friday night. Mets Phillies.
Okay. If you walk into the team store and you see a Dan Vogelback black jersey just staring at you in the face, how can you not purchase it? I
You
don't know
know
if they'll
that
have that available.
you know the TikTok that you did with the credit card and you're like,
Yeah,
you slap it on
right.
you slap the credit card on the concrete or whatever, and you ended up almost breaking your wrist.
Well, yeah, that wasn't ideal.
That
Not what
would
you
be
want.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would frisbee my debit and credit cards at them.
Cut off a City Field employee's head with that credit card.
Unfortunately, they don't have Daniel Vogelback gear at City Field because they're already checked.
Poverty
So,
franchise, right? Yeah.
yeah, not even on Fanatics either. So we'll have to get to that. We'll have to talk about that. We have a lot to get to today. I mean, the NFL is basically in full swing. It's August, preseason football tonight. A lot of rumors flying around about other teams. We're going to talk about football in a little bit. We are going to start with baseball though, because here in New York, baseball is it's the topic of conversation. Siri just
Unfortunately.
decided to go off. Yes, and both teams playing very well to start the season off. They were both in first place, and they're both still in first place. But one team is heading in. Both teams are heading in two opposite directions as of late. So we are going to start with your New York Yankees, though, JM, and I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, I mean, what is there to be said? They're 2-8 in their last 10. You had a horrible series over the weekend against St. Louis. Then you come out, go to Seattle. You win one game. Then Garrett Cole gives you the best start he's had in a while against the team that took him deep 3 times in one inning about a week ago. And you take a nice lead, you blow the lead because Albert Abreu is in the game, because service time needs to be manipulated, or Albert Abreu is out of minor league options. So instead of DFAing him, we decide to send down Ron Marinaccio, who's been probably our most reliable reliever up to this date. And for some reason he's in AAA. So we're basically, the Yankees are caring a lot more about the 40-man roster than the 26-man roster they have right now, and it's biting them in the ass. And there's just so many issues right now that need to be addressed. And I think that Cashman needs to be held accountable, and other management needs to be held accountable, but mostly Brian Cashman, in regards to why is Clark Schmidt in AAA right now? Why is Ron Marinaccio in AAA right now? Why is Oswald Peraza? The whole minor league system is being clogged up right now. Anthony Volpe should be in AAA by this point, and Oswald Peraza, I mean, if you don't want to make him the everyday shortstop, fine, but he should be getting pretty consistent looks in the majors right now, because unfortunately we have a shortstop who is yet to hit a home run this season, which is historic. And Yankees says he's yet to hit a home run, but apparently it's fine because he bats .270 and slaps singles and plays a slightly above average shortstop, but inconsistent shortstop. And for some reason, everybody just assumes he's this Gold Glover. But I think it's pretty shameful the way that this roster has been handled from a team that is in a year where they should win the World Series.
There's a lot going on here. There's a ton going on. So let's just start off by saying, not to make excuses for the team and, management. There's a lot of injury. That's something you didn't mention. There are a few injuries right now. Rizzo didn't play last weekend against St. Louis. He had missed some time. You have Giancarlo out, which is a massive loss. You have guys out. There's no doubt about it. But you have a lineup still that has Aaron Judge in it, that has DJ LeMahieu in it, who's had a huge season. Once again, he's bounced back in a big way. Gleyber Torres, who has been struggling of late, still has had a pretty good season. And for a second baseman, for a middle infielder, he has close to 20 home runs. That's above average for that position. He should be stepping up. there are still guys on the team. Andrew Benintendi was traded for at the trade deadline. You should be able to score runs. You should be able to win those 1-0 games against the Mariners, against the Cardinals. So there you have no excuse. But it's not surprising the team with these injuries has gone into a little bit of a funk.
Right. I mean, listen, you knew at some point they were going to hit a skid. I mean, what were the odds that they were going to go out and win 120 games, break the record? That's all that we talked about basically in June because they were winning so many games. That's all you could talk about. You knew they were going to hit a skid. Did I think the skid was going to be this bad? No. But fortunately, they built a gap so big in this division that they're still 10 games up on the Blue Jays. Granted, the Blue Jays haven't really done anything about it either. I mean, they've been playing pretty average or slightly above average baseball and haven't been capitalizing on the way the Yankees have been playing. But you knew you were going to hit the skid. Like you said, injuries, Stanton, Rizzo, Severino. There's guys out that, the Mike King injury was a massive blow. Now Carpenter broke his foot. So there's been a lot of injuries that they've had to deal with. But, every team deals with the injuries. It's just a matter of, can this team turn it around soon? We don't want them to play like this in the playoffs, obviously, because if they do, they have no chance. And also, the Astros just took a half-game lead on you for the 1 seed in the AL. So I wouldn't be too concerned if I'm the Yankees about getting that first-round bye. I don't think any AL Central team is going to threaten to have a better record than them. I mean, that division's a joke. So if I'm them, I'm just more concerned about locking up the East, staying ahead of the Blue Jays. But like I said, they hit a skid. Obviously, I just have my complaints about the Yankees, right? Peraza's down. You got guys who should be on the major league roster that they're giving other guys opportunities, whether it comes to they're out of options or service time manipulation for these guys in AAA. There are several moments every year, every day, basically, where I feel embarrassed to be a Yankee fan because, unfortunately, and I know several people very close to me who act this way, we have the most spoiled fan base in sports. Like it's not even close. So I'm a New York Jets fan, right? I watch this team. They haven't made the playoffs since I was in elementary school. Okay? Just think about that. They haven't made playoffs since elementary school. They consistently have guys get arrested. We draft the wrong people. Mekhi Becton, for example, I'm not going to complain too much. I still like the state the Jets are in right now. I'm optimistic. But then again, we haven't even won any freaking football games. But whatever. I digress. The future looks good. You have just constant dysfunction over and over again. The fact that we have a freaking baseball, you root for a baseball team. I don't care how much money we have. You root for a baseball team that has not had a losing record since 1992, 30 years ago. There has not been a single day that I have been living on this earth where I looked back at my team season and said, that was a losing season. Never. We are consistently contending for at least the division, a playoff spot, the World Series, whatever you want to say. Sure. Have we not won a World Series in 13 years? Yeah. Is that a drought for the Yankees? Yes. Is that a drought for any other baseball team? No. I see just constantly people just bitching and bitching and bitching about everything about, oh, this is such a waste. Get Cashman out of here. We can't build it. We can't build a World Series contending team. We're a joke. We're the laughing stock, blah, blah, blah. Can you look around for a second? About 2 months ago, not even a month ago, you wanted to say, this is an amazing team. This is our best shot at the World Series. Now we hit a little skid. All of a sudden we're a joke. We're not beating the Astros. We don't have the team to do it. I hate being a Yankees fan. It's just disappointment year after year. Yeah. Is it annoying that we lose and come up short a lot recently? Yeah. But can you take a second, step back and be like, okay, I have a team that has a shot at it every single year. I'm watching relevant baseball. People are checked out to their baseball teams in May, in June, worried about what guy they're going to draft in fantasy football or how their football team is going to do. They can't wait for training camp because that's all they have to look forward to because their baseball team is horrible. You are consistently watching your team be amazing year after year. And guess what? If the Yankees go on a 10-game winning streak and we come back here in 2 weeks those same people I'm talking about are going to be ecstatic and just forget about everything.
How did that?
Can you stop in your little fantasy world and being so freaking oblivious and look around for a second and be like, this is pretty cool. Let's see what happens. Let's be optimistic. But no, I get called a Yankees apologist because I like to defend Brian Cashman. You know, a guy who took a team in 2016 that traded Carlos Beltran, James McCann, Andrew Miller, so on and so forth, that looked like it was about to head into a rebuild, and the next year took them to the ALCS. To Game 7 with the Houston Astros, who are a cheating team and have been close to a dynasty. If they had one more World Series in the past 5 years, you'd call them a dynasty. But get rid of Cashman. We suck. We're a horrible organization. This and that. I can't deal with him anymore. It's actually laughable. It's ungrateful. It's selfish. It's ridiculous.
How does that feel? Feel good?
Yeah.
You know, Yankee fans are spoiled. You're 100% correct. I'll go back to what you said at the beginning. There is an expectation with the New York Yankees that I think everybody, not only Yankee fans, but everybody around the league expects the Yankees to be the best. Now, the father, George Steinbrenner, set an example of, well, we're going to spend money and we're going to spend all the money and we're going to, nobody's going to get the best players. We're going to get the best players. And George is no longer here. He doesn't run the team, and Hal does not run the team the same way. And you could say it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. There's luxury taxes, there's penalties, but this is my one complaint right now with the New York Yankees, with Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, whoever you want to blame. The trade, and you brought up IKF before, the trade to grab IKF and Josh Donaldson. I don't care what you gave up. You gave up Gio Urshela, you gave up Gary Sanchez, whatever. I'm not losing sleep over that. The problem is you brought on $25 million for the next 2 seasons of Josh Donaldson, who, sure, plays a good third base. I don't really care about that right now. Has not hit. Has been a massive disappointment for this team. And IKF, as you mentioned, cannot really be in the lineup anymore at this point. And shortstop is very underwhelming, considering we thought he was going to come here and be a Gold Glove caliber shortstop. It hasn't been that. It's been better than what you've had in the past, but hasn't been that. My problem is you could have spent that money on Donaldson, on a free agent that could have helped this team instead of IKF and Josh Donaldson.
True. Well, the only defense I would have to that is just to say that trade with, Donaldson and IKF, that it did also set up the Trevino trade, which has been fantastic. Although, if Rortvedt doesn't get hurt, I don't know if Trevino's on this team, but, let's not talk hypotheticals. Yeah, I mean, I guess technically speaking, you're right with the Donaldson money. I mean, it would be hard to find a free agent that's going to sign let's just say a 2-year, $50 million deal, like what Donaldson's set to make, in these next 2 seasons. So yeah, that hasn't been Cashman's greatest move, but also, Gary Sanchez has been pretty terrible this year. I understand they didn't really upgrade the team, but they also didn't really downgrade from that trade.
I think he added unnecessary money.
True. The thing I will say that is it doesn't relate to the IKF trade at all, but you brought it up with the George Steinbrenner stuff. That's one more point that I didn't address, okay? Everybody wants to say but if the boss was here, blah, 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 blah. How did George Steinbrenner's career go? In the beginning, they were booing him out of the stadium, basically begging for him to sell the team, right? They thought he was horrible. Then he brings Gene Michael along. Merlo, when we talk about the Yankees dynasty from the late 90s, right? Even into the 2000s, whatever, when they won all those championships in the late 90s, what is the first thing you think of in terms of players? You think of Mariano Rivera, Jeter, Posada. You think of the core 4.
The core 4, yes.
You think of the core 4. Did Derek Jeter come to the Yankees after having 6 great seasons with the Minnesota Twins? And then we were like, here's 10 years, $200 million, Derek. No, all these guys were developed through the Yankees farm, homegrown players that we did not spend our money on. It was through good player development, good scouting, etc. So
Right.
I understand that, yes, those Yankees teams, it wasn't just them. Like, then you spent the money elsewhere, added guys on to join these core players that you already had, and that's how you get a really good baseball team. Why do you think the Los Angeles Dodgers have been so freaking good lately? Because they keep pumping out these superstars that come out of their farm system, and then they trade some of these guys in their farm for these fantastic players. They sign players. It's a good mixture, which is what the Yankees have done over the past couple of years. But some of these guys that they've brought up haven't really panned out. Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier, guys like that. Obviously, Judge has been, otherworldly. The Yankees have the third highest payroll in baseball.
Right.
This whole stigma that Hal Steinbrenner is cheap to me is BS. I have been frustrated with Hal before. And this is why, I get called an apologist. I'm not saying that everything is perfect that the Yankees do. Not at all. I'm saying it has to be one extreme or the other. I just think it's in the middle, right? Yeah, they should probably spend a little bit more money. But if the Yankees go out this past offseason, sign Corey Seager, right? Would they really have the financial flexibility this offseason to give Judge $40 million, whatever the hell he wants? Oh, but if the boss was around, the Yankees, we'd have a $500 million payroll, apparently. We just be.
No, and you probably wouldn't. You probably would not have a $500 million payroll. You probably wouldn't have a $300 million payroll, and it would be inconsistent. It would fluctuate from year to year.
Right. And I don't know, if he was around, right? Why do we act like they would just sign some guy to a 10-year, $300 million? Let's say they signed Corey Seager, 10 years, 325, right? What if Corey Seager sucks and then you have a horrible shortstop for 10 years? What would George Steinbrenner do? Would he sign Trey Turner to a 10-year deal? And now Corey Seager's a bench bat making $32 million a year for 10 years? Give me a break. I can't. I can't take it.
So you're saying you don't miss the boss?
I would say I don't even know the boss. I think he died way before I was a
2010. It's funny. Right when for whatever reason, I vividly remember this when Scherzer signed in, I think it was 15. He signed over there with DC with Washington, and I remember vividly. People said, "Oh, if the boss was alive, Scherzer would have never signed there. He would have been a Yankee." I vividly remember that for whatever reason. But you're right. It's not smart to stay over the luxury tax. They probably wouldn't be over the luxury tax because Brian Cashman, his general manager, or whoever his general manager would say, George, you can't go over the luxury tax every single year. It is not the smart baseball decision.
Yep.
People think Steve Cohen's going to go over the luxury tax for the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. No, in 2024, the Mets will be under the luxury tax. I'll bet a lot of money on that.
Yep.
So whatever. You're 100% right. Now let's talk about this team legitimately right now, because to me, they don't have an identity right now. If you told me this team was to lose in the divisional round, I would have said, okay, you're not surprised. Or if you tell me this team gets fully healthy and things start clicking the right way, and you told me they win the World Series, I wouldn't be surprised. There's no middle ground. I'm very confused. Now, there's two big problems to me. Number one is Clay Holmes. For about a month now, he has not been good. Over his last 9 2/3, it has actually, that might have gone up a little bit, maybe 10 2/3, has not been a good pitcher. No. He just hasn't. He's been shaky. He has not had the same control he's had for the first 3 months of the season, where he looked like one of the better relievers in baseball, top 3 closer at the time, the best closer in baseball. That's number one, because who's your number two? Who's the guy you go to now? Who's the Clay Holmes when Chapman was struggling? You don't have that guy. Do you go back to Chapman? Do you trust Wendy Peralta in that situation? Does Loizaga start to step up a little bit? That guy isn't here right now. And my other issue is with the starting pitching. Now, Cole is a different story. You could save that for a minute. I still think, as shaky as he's been, I may not trust him in Game 7 of the ALCS, but he's there and he's your ace. And I think you just have to deal with it. But the other guys, Cortez, he's looked a little bit more consistent lately. But Montes' first start was terrible, and I'm not going to judge him off of one start. But
Montes is coming off the injury. It's first start back. All that's plus the personal leave he had. Exactly. We're not going to get on him about that. But I mean, you're right, especially in terms of the bullpen. Um, I mean, what defense are we going to give to for it to get better? Besides, you know, of these guys are going to be better, like Clay Holmes and Marinaccio. Well, not Marinaccio, Clay Holmes and Loizaga and Chapman. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we're getting Zach Britton back. Like, no, you can't rely on Zach Britton. And
No.
I think part of it is just the parity of being a reliever. I mean, we know about it. We made a top 10 relievers list this past offseason. I'm sure next year the list will have 2 of the same guys on it and 8 new guys. That's just what happens. But yeah, it is a concern right now. I mean, if Clay Holmes continues to, spiral down, which I don't think he will. I don't know if he'll get back to, 30 straight scoreless innings or whatever, but I think he could, definitely get back to his you trust this guy in the 9th inning type status. But besides him back there, you just got F. Ross. He's a nice reliever. Wandy Peralta, he's been good. Has had some hiccups, gave up the walk-off to the Mets at Citi Field. And then Loizaga, he's really got to find his stuff. You want to talk about a guy who should probably be in AAA instead of Marinaccio? Jonathan Loizaga. Let him find his stuff back. Bring him back in September, whenever you got to bring him back up. But let's get this guy right, because with the approach they're taking right now, where they're kind of in cruise control in first place in this division, why don't you go send him down and let him figure his stuff out, because you don't need him right away right now. Let's bring up guys who
Right.
can make a better impact right now. Let Loizaga return to his dominant form, hopefully, and then bring him back up when he's ready. Because I know he has an option left.
And you mentioned it before, actually. Just to go back about the division, the Toronto Blue Jays had a chance to get back in this division, and they did not.
No.
I mean, over the last, I think it's 45, 46 games, I think the Yankees are 22-24, and they're playing under 500 baseball for close to a month and a half, about a month and a half.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays had an opportunity to get back in this thing, and they did not. And obviously, other teams, I mean, a couple of the teams fell out of it. The Orioles, which we'll get to in a little bit, but that's something that the Yankees should be grateful for. I haven't thought they were going to get the 1 seed for about a month and a half now, so this isn't shocking to me. I don't think they will. The Astros just play in an easier division right now. I think they're the better team. I think they've been the better team. So that's no surprise to me. But the division's locked up, and you obviously have that 2 seed locked up, so you avoid that wild card round, the 3-game series. But I think Yankee fans are kind of close to hitting that panic button, if not hit that panic button already. Wow, AirPod fell out. And I don't know if I'm there. I don't know if I'm there just yet. One thing I actually have a massive problem with, and I thought about it today too, after I watched them lose to the Mariners Wednesday afternoon. You still cannot, to me, defend the Harrison Bader trade. I'm so confused by it. I'm so confused by it.
Why not? I understand it.
Addison Bader. I like Harrison Bader. I like him. Like, he kills the Mets. I think he's a great player. I think I understand his qualities. He's one of the fastest guys in baseball. He's one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball. I understand his qualities, but for a team that, yes, again, had a division locked up per se at the trade deadline, for a guy to now try and come back from plantar fasciitis in September to try and get in the swing of things to help in a postseason run when you already have pretty much a crowded outfield, that didn't make too much sense to me. I mean, trade a starting pitcher,
but
a guy in your rotation.
I understand what you're saying. I understand. There's it is risky to get a guy, like you said, coming off an injury like that. But when you look at this team from a postseason standpoint, all we talk about is, is this team built to win in the postseason, and can they make it all the way with this roster? Because we know the postseason's a completely different game. The Yankees have been one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in baseball this year. But the one thing that they've been missing, especially, is a very good defensive center fielder. And like you said, he's one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. He's going to be a starter in the playoffs at center field. Maybe he'll be a late substitution if his bat isn't great. He'll get pinch hit for. But you put him in center field, versus Jordan Montgomery, who probably was not going to be in the postseason rotation. If you have a healthy Severino, I think they probably would have chose him over Tyone. But with a healthy Severino, you got 4 guys in Cole, Cortez, Severino, and Montes. So
Right.
just from a standpoint of what would you rather have on a postseason roster, I'm choosing Harrison Bader over Jordan Montgomery. The only thing I
And
will
that makes
say
sense.
is Clark Schmidt just struck out 11 guys in 5 innings in AAA today, but he's not in our starting rotation. And the guy who, model citizen, Mr. Domestic Abuse, Domingo Herman, is our 5 starter who just hangs curveballs for a living. But that's a whole nother topic.
Right. The one thing I will say, and I understand what you're saying, but you and Severino on the shelf, and even that he's been hurt so much the past few years. First of all, they think he's going to come back, and that's fine. Can you really trust he's going to come back and be the same guy that he was? He was slightly inconsistent coming back from a big injury. That's number one. Number two, you can't predict injuries. Right. So you're getting rid of some starting pitching depth, which I don't like. And I understand if you have your full guys healthy, ready to go, Montgomery's out of the rotation. Right. Tyone's out of the rotation. I understand that, but you can't predict what's going to happen. So it just was very confusing. And listen, if they would have made that trade and they traded a prospect, totally. Harrison Bader fills what you're saying in center field and adds another element, on the base paths. I get that. But not to trade a guy from the major league roster.
But now just think of the domino effect that it creates, right? If they hold on to Montgomery, your game 1 lineup, Aaron Hicks has been horrible again. He hasn't had an extra base hit in a month, okay? 0 for 32 streak he just snapped the other day. Your starting lineup, you're going to put Benintendi in left, Judge in center, and Stanton in right. Matt Carpenter just broke his foot. We don't know if he's going to be back. But let's say Matt Carpenter's even back. You now defensively have a downgrade in right field going from Judge to Stanton. Right? Stanton, when it comes to his glove, is not a hard, he's got a good arm. He's athletic, right? He can make his catches, but he's, the range in the outfield is horrible. He's one of the slowest outfielders in baseball. So that's a downgrade defensively and right. Then you move to center. Now you have Judge in center. Good defensive center fielder, but better defensively and right. So now you're downgrading in 2 positions in the outfield versus upgrading with Bader in center, and now you're putting Judge back to right. You have 3 Gold Glove caliber fielders across the outfield. So versus having a downgrade defensively just for a guy who probably won't even be in the playoff rotation. So I understood it. And listen, I don't know if the Yankees were covering up the whole Pablo Lopez situation.
No way.
In terms of saying, they just missed out on him. They backed out last minute at the Marlins, and that Brian Cashman said, we were going to make the trade anyways for Bader. I don't know if the Bader trade was setting up that trade. It kind of seemed like it.
A general manager never does that. A general manager never. If that could be a fireable offense.
Right, exactly. So I don't think Brian Cashman, 30 years of experience or whatever he's got, would do something like that.
Right. No chance at all that happened. We're going to have a Zoom conflict in a minute, so we'll just keep talking through everything. The Yankees have a series against the Boston Red Sox coming up at Fenway Park. So we'll see what happens. The tides have got to turn, right? I mean, you gotta think that
2 out of 3 at least this weekend. Come on.
Law of averages will say, okay, you know what? This team's got to get back on track. Look, they're playing at such an historic pace. It was going to be really difficult to continue that. I've seen now from a bunch of people, and I've actually noticed this too. When you look at the schedule, they're playing a lot of easy, and I'm not like this in baseball, but they're playing a lot of easier teams. The schedule got more difficult. They were playing legit teams. Now they're on this stretch of 22 and 24 in their last 46. So We're going to see what happens. There's still 50 games left. There's still a third of the season left, so basically. So we're going to see what happens with this team. All right, let's head over to the other side of town, where things look a little more bright, and that's the New York Mets. They are on a crazy stretch right now since the All-Star break. I mean, they've won 15 of their last 17. I remember they lost the first 2 games coming out of the break. They didn't score any runs, and against the Padres, lost the first 2 games of series. The Padres scored maybe 3 runs in total in 2 games. And since then, they're 15-2. 15-2 with Daniel Vogelback on the squad.
That's what Dan Vogelback will do to your team.
He is a big time game changer. In all seriousness, we weren't here for the trade deadline, but Billy Epler was criticized for his moves, lack of moves, I should say, and I'll still criticize him for what he did with the bullpen. But the guys that he's brought in to fill in the DH/platoon roles, Tyler Naquin, Darren Ruff, and obviously Daniel Vogelback has done a fantastic job, and I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, but I'm not going back in time. We're going to talk about this team right now. They last weekend go 4 out of 5 against the Braves. It was a massive series, and it felt big. The stadium was packed every night. The way both managers managed the games felt big, and the Mets did something they don't really do. They don't beat the Braves for the last 4 seasons. If really forever, they don't beat the Braves. But for the last 4 seasons as the Braves have reigned over this division, the Mets said, no, this isn't going to happen this time. And they beat down on them. Aside from 2 innings out of 5 games, the Mets dominated this series.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big, big statement that the Mets made. And yeah, you're 100% right. I think Billy Epler did a good job in terms of the DH. It makes all these moves made sense because Vogelback is a great hitter against righties and terrible against lefties. And then you have the opposite with Darren Ruff, great against lefties, bad against righties. So it's a nice platoon that he's got going there, and it's worked out so far. Now obviously there are still concerns, and every winning gets rid of everything. Obviously, all negativity goes away when you're winning ball games, but it's all about building a team for the postseason. So let's hope that the Mets bullpen holds up. I mean, they didn't completely leave the bullpen alone. They did get Michael Givens, but Diaz has been exactly what you hoped he would be when you traded for him a couple years ago. He's having a historic season for the Mets right now. I mean, I texted you the other day. I think at this point, I think he deserves Cy Young consideration. No joke. I mean, the guy's striking out over 50% of the batters that he faces. He's an automatic out, he's an automatic save every time he comes into the game. He should get, +1 WAR just for his walkout song alone. That is now finally really catching steam nationally, and rightfully so. I mean, I was at the game 2 months ago. Obviously not a Met fan. Took my phone out as soon as Edwin started walking out of the dugout, just because how can you not stand and dance to that song and love every second of it. But I think the bullpen is a concern behind him. Who are the guys that are going to be coming in before him? Adam Ottavino has been good for the Mets, but you don't really. It's hard to address the bullpens. We just talked about the Yankees. You don't really ever feel super comfortable with your bullpen, just because, like I said, it's the nature of relievers, right? You have guys, like I said, that will have these years they'll be on our top 10 list, and then the next year they'll be in AAA or they won't be anywhere close to our list. So that's just the way it goes with relief pitchers. That's why it's so hard and so valuable to find those guys that are consistently great year after year. But I think the Mets are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you look at them how could you not think it? You look at them in a 4-game series, a 5-game series, right? Let's say NLDS. You're going to go out and you're going to face deGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, and then deGrom and Scherzer again, or maybe a 4th starter. They'll put Walker out there. They'll put Carrasco out there, whoever. Jacob deGrom is, when he's on the field, untouchable. I mean, somebody gets a 2-run home run off of him, and you're like, wow, that's incredible. How did somebody hit a 2-run home run off of it? And that's it. The guy does not implode. He doesn't go out and give up 6 runs in a game. He just doesn't do it. And it makes sense because, like, how the hell could he? He's throwing 102, which definitely hitters. You look around at interviews, people say, "What's it like to face Jacob deGrom?" They say that ball is not 102 miles an hour. That ball's like 110. The thing just it just jumps, right? The spin, it just sneaks up on you and it looks even faster than it is. And then you add in he's throwing 94-mile-an-hour sliders. He doesn't even need the freaking curveball. He rarely throws it.
He doesn't throw the curveball.
Yeah.
He actually throws it as a joke because Scherzer wants him to throw more curveballs. So he'll start somebody off as a joke with a first pitch curveball because Scherzer has been doing it. But I want to get to deGrom in a second. The bullpen, the one thing that I do feel a little bit better about is, first off, and I'm not counting on this, Tyler McGill's coming back in, I'd say, another month, and he's not even going to be stretched out as a starter. They're throwing him right into the bullpen.
Right. He doesn't need
David
to be stretched out as a starter.
Right. David Peterson's their sixth man right now. Eventually, if they get to the postseason with a fully healthy rotation, he'll be in the bullpen. One of Walker or Carrasco is going to the bullpen. They just got Trevor May back from injury. They thought his struggles earlier in the season were due to his injury. It kind of looks that way. So, and Lugo has been pitching a little bit better. So if you get these guys going a little bit, you have these starters coming into the bullpen, you feel slightly better about it. I'm not 100% confident. I'll never be 100% confident when it comes to a bullpen in the New York Mets, but we'll deal with it right now. Now let's go to Jacob deGrom, because we talk about Judge so much and his contract and what he's going to get and where he's going to go, or the Yankees going to pony up, and I believe they will. And I think I said this to you. I said, we're not talking about deGrom enough. And yes, deGrom, granted, wasn't playing, but now he's back and now he's pitching. And we're going to have to start talking about him and his free agency.
Oh, yeah.
What's going to happen with him? Because he's going to opt out of his contract after this season, and he's going to be a free agent. He's going to want more money than Max Scherzer per year, and he's going to get it. Who's going to give it to him? Is it going to be the Mets? Do you do that if you're the Mets? Can you trust him? Because you obviously see, I don't know if this is crazy. I think he's the best pitcher I've ever seen in my own two eyes. The most dominant, best pitcher I've ever seen in my own two eyes.
Honestly,
I didn't get to see Pedro.
I don't know if I could argue with that. I really don't. What's his ERA the past 4 years? Sub 2?
Yes, I'll give it to you in a minute, but I'm almost positive.
I mean, he's a reliever, a flame-throwing reliever that's going to give you 7 innings.
You hope.
I mean, when he's healthy, that's what he is.
We'll go since 2018, okay? And if you combine 2020 and 2021, you get one season. So it's about 3 seasons, okay? I love when Baseball Reference works. So we'll do it like this. So in 2018, he had a 1.70 ERA, won the Cy Young. 2019, 2.43 Cy Young. 2020, 2.38. That was one. It was like 1.5. He actually had a bad start at the end of it. 2.38, and then obviously 2021, 1.08.
Yeah, untouchable.
I think, yeah, I stand by that, and it was amazing. I actually sit there though on Sunday when he's pitching against the Braves, and I'm like very nervous. He's throwing so hard. It's like, please don't hurt yourself. Wrap him in bubble wrap,
right?
For all I care. But he's got to get stretched out. I mean, the walk and then the home run to Swanson was clear. He tired out, and he obviously hadn't thrown that many pitches. He hadn't been in the 6th inning like that in over a year.
Well,
it was clear he was tired.
If I'm the Mets, obviously this guy has been with your team his whole career. He's, a fan favorite. He's an all-timer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He'll go in as a Met, whatever. It's almost like I've talked about this on the show before where, things are going so good sometimes in life that you're just waiting for that piano to come crashing down on your head. It's almost too good to be true when it comes to him because of how dominant he is and how it doesn't make any sense how a starting pitcher could throw that hard with that kind of frame and be that dominant consistently, where yes, you want to keep him. I don't want to I don't even know if you could say I don't want to jinx him. I don't know if I want to make these comparisons and get crazy, but it has the potential to go Chris Sale if he gets a big contract after this season with whatever team, just because he's a skinny guy. You know, he's not a toothpick like Sale is. I think he's a little bigger than Sale, but still a very skinny guy. Um, that already has shown injury history and injury problems over the last couple of years. Has had setbacks in his rehabs and everything like that. And I don't know if you can trust to give this guy, let's say, how old is he? Like 32?
34.
He's 34, really?
Yes, he's 34. He just turned 34 50 days ago.
He's 34 years old. Are you really going to give a 34-year-old with that kind of injury history, who's most likely not going to be throwing 102 miles an hour 5 years from now, you really going to give him a 5-year, $200 million contract? I don't know.
Oh, I don't think anybody's doing that. I don't even think the Mets are doing that.
40 million and 5 years? I don't think that's crazy. I think he'll get that.
I
If
think
Scherzer
he's
at age 37, 38 could get 3 years north of 40 million, whatever he got, I think Jacob deGrom could get 5 years, 200 million.
there's a big difference though. There's a big difference. I think any smart organization will say to themselves, let's say Jake pitches the rest of the season, no problems, goes into the postseason, pitches, well. The only time he was in the postseason, I mean, he was unfreaking believable in 2015. People forget about that. But either way, let's say he does that and he's up for the big contract. I don't think a team goes more than 3 seasons, and I don't think you can. Any smart team, you cannot. I would go at 3. If I was the Mets, I'd go 3 years at $45 million a year and opt out. Same thing as Scherzer. Opt out after the second so he can go at 36 and get another one of these contracts. That's the way I believe it'll go. I'd be shocked
It
if it
depends
was more than 3 years.
it depends on his part, what decision he makes. But I'm just telling you, there will be an offer on the table of 5 years around 200 million. A team that is in desperate need of an ace, that is, a contender, or, a wild card contender, whatever, a relevant team that really needs an ace and sees how once in a generation this guy is, they'll be like, all right, we'll one up, the Mets and give him an extra year, an extra 2 years, whatever he wants, just from how great he is. And
Yeah,
I
the
don't know
thing
if he'll
is,
end up signing that deal, but it'll be on the table.
here's the thing. I don't know what his intentions are. I don't know what he wants. We've heard the rumors he may not want to be in New York. I don't know. And by the way, with the reception that he got in his first start on Sunday back at Citi Field, how could you not want to be here? But that's a discussion for a different day.
Well, I don't.
If he does this and he goes on this great run the rest of the way, whether they win the World Series or not, he's Jacob deGrom. I don't think there's any way Cohen lets him out. I can't see it happen, but I don't know. Before we switch it off to another team, Francisco Lindor got bullied, battered by the media, by fans, and I think that everybody needs to start praising him like the guy he was in Cleveland, because he's been that way for this team this year. You can make an argument he's their MVP. I mean, you can make a lot of arguments for a lot of MVPs on this team, which I like. I love that about this team. But you can make an argument for him as well. He's been unbelievable, driving in runs, scoring runs, playing fantastic defense, hitting for power. He's already at 20 home runs with 50 games to go. He's tied Jose Reyes for the most RBIs by the shortstop. And by the way, we always talk about RBIs not meaning something.
They mean something.
Like, it's not a valued stat. And I understand, because if you have a player that's on the floor, completely on the floor, I didn't even stop it.
I thought you called it. I was going to say nice catch.
If you have a player that just like Juan Soto, if Juan Soto had a fantastic year, he had 1,000 OPS and he had 90 RBIs. Okay, yeah, I understand that, or 80 RBIs. I understand that his team sucks. But if you have a player that is on a good team and is consistently driving in runs, that should have value. So I guess it's a double standard, But if you like Pete Alonso and Aaron Judge, they have a ton of RBIs. That should mean something. You should talk about that and like be proud of that your player has that many RBIs. Francisco Lindor was a shortstop, 81 RBIs. Trey Turner has 81 RBIs too. That's impressive, especially with 50 games to go.
You make sense because we'll hear complaints all the time about, oh, this team can't hit and runners in scoring position, or this guy can't hit with runners in scoring position. So a guy who, let's say you have two guys, identical slash lines, 250, 330, and 430, right? 760 OPS, pretty average, slightly above average hitter, whatever. The one guy that has 100 RBI versus the other guy that has 80 RBI, because the guy with 100 RBI is batting 320 with runners in scoring position, and the other guy with 80 is batting 250 with runners in scoring position. The more valuable guy is the guy with the 100 RBI because he's producing more runs for your team, even though they both have identical slash lines. And, the guy with the less RBI is doing better with nobody on base. And, maybe, you could say, well, he's setting himself up for his teammates. But I'd rather take the guy who's, I know, in a big spot going to come up and going to get that run. Because this is why analytics get a bad rep. And this is what I'm going to relate this back to what I said before, where everything needs to be so one to one side or the other, where we can't just have a balance. You can look at analytics as a tool, right? We always say a tool, not a Bible. Look at analytics as a tool and be like, yeah, this guy, his standard numbers don't show you the type of player he is. But just because a guy is good analytically, it doesn't mean that you have to believe that there's no such thing as clutch. There's no such thing as heating up or being cold or whatever. Like, these guys are human beings with emotions. Anybody who's played a sport knows that there's certain guys that you've played with that in a big spot, they're not going to come up because they're nervous or it's just not in them, right? They don't have that dog. We always joke around, that dog in you, but it's a real thing. So, I think you take everything with a grain of salt and, you incorporate the eye test, you incorporate everything, and let's stop completely trying to kill the human element of the game. It's all about a nice little mixture.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Hey, maybe somebody's not feeling well that day. They're still playing. They're out there, and it's
right.
Doesn't go their way.
Right.
All right. Spent a lot of time in baseball. Very quickly, Juan Soto obviously is a Padre, and I find it to be very funny that even though they have this great team, and Tatis isn't back yet, sure, I find it absolutely hysterical that the Padres go to Chavez Ravine and still get owned by their father, the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's actually hysterical.
It is. It's like remember when we were in high school with Oceanside, that like everybody wants it just to be, and they had success against us, but like they just wanted to be our rival, like so desperately because they just didn't have a rival. It's like that. It's like you want to be the Dodgers rival so bad that you'll hype it up and talk all this crap, but every time you just get the crap beat out of you. So
like the expectations get so big, it's like, oh my God, look at us. And
exactly, like, good for the Padres. That's another thing. AJ Preller, right? He's getting all these big name guys. I still don't really think he's the greatest GM. I'm just gonna say that. I think he's too aggressive. I think that people have looked over some of the horrible things that the horrible choices he's made, like Eric Hosmer and, getting Austin Nola for Ty France and Andres Munoz, who have both been very productive players for the Mariners.
Wow, that was a trade?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Getting Will Myers has not panned out. So
Justin Upton before then, Craig Kimbrell.
I don't know.
That.
Was he around? How long has he even been their GM?
I think that was him. I'm almost positive that was him. Those were like his first couple of moves.
AJ Preller.
I'll look up Justin Upton. When did he get the job?
AJ Preller was promoted to his current position of president of baseball operations and general manager in February 2021. Yeah, that's not right though.
No,
he originally joined. Right, he was GM in 2014.
Oh yeah, first move 2015, San Diego Padre, Justin Upton. They ended up trading him that offseason, or he left that offseason. They got him from Atlanta. That's right. Remember that. What else? Kimbrel, I think, was that year as well. Whenever I think of this guy, whenever I think of Preller, it's being super aggressive. And listen, good for him that he's able to accumulate all of these prospects. I mean, they've had a great farm system for years now, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't know how the trade is going to go. A lot of people believe that the Nationals got fair value back when it comes to great young talent. But is it worth it? Like, is it this season? Is it next season? Like, when? I don't understand it. And also, I don't think their starting rotation is good enough at this moment to even have a chance to compete with the Dodgers or even the Mets. I don't think the starting pitching matches up there.
I think it's pretty clear that in the NL, the Mets and the Dodgers are. I mean, obviously, baseball works in weird ways, but I would bet a substantial amount of money that they face each other in the NLCS at this point. Right. Now, things can change. Like I said, the Mets, we could be a month from now talking about the Yankees are playing their best baseball and the Mets are in the Yankee spot. They're 2-8 in their last 10. But
right.
I just think when you look at it from a roster standpoint and how the season has gone, I think the Dodgers are clearly going to end up being the 1 seed in the NL. And I think the Mets are their biggest threat.
Right. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I mean, even you've got the Phillies in a playoff spot right now. They're playing very well. They're coming to New York for a weekend series. That should be interesting. Atlanta, I think Atlanta's going to stick around. The Mets have a big 4-game set against them, but they're a threat. Like, they are a threat in the National League as well. If they get hot like they did last season, you never know. The Padres can get hot.
Right.
I really starting to like the Cardinals.
Yeah, right. Yeah. 100%.
They got crushed by the Rockies for whatever reason the last few days. But what they showed against the Yankees, even before that on that little winning streak, they can be dangerous too if they figure some things out.
Mm-hmm.
They got a great back end of the bullpen with Helsley and Gallegos.
Yep.
They can be very dangerous.
I was just about to bring up a point about if you're a Major League Baseball team looking for a manager this offseason, how can the name Joe Girardi even cross your mind? How can it? The guy, it's not what you want. I mean, really, but I can't get away from that thing. He gets fired. Bryce Harper is out for months, and this team is playing the best baseball they've played in years.
A decade.
Literally.
A decade.
Yeah. How?
It's impressive. And for half of this time, Castellanos was nowhere to be found.
No. Kyle Schwarber, I think this season needs to be studied. It's actually crazy.
I've actually taken a look at his numbers. It's really weird.
Is he under 200 yet? The last time I checked, he's 202.
Well, he got hurt today actually as a calf strain. The fact that this guy, he's batting 212.
He's batting 212 now. Okay, he got a little hot streak.
34 homers. These 34 home runs. He has an 800 OPS.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
He's been good. He's been a slightly above average player when you consider everything else about his game.
But for them this season, when he did step up, it was massive. And now guys are playing. Listen, guys are playing well. They're hot. Real Muto has come back to being the guy that we know he is. And maybe not at the level, but I mean, recently he's been really hot and really good. And they're getting Gene Segura back. They let go of your boy Didi. The Yankees should absolutely hop on that right now. Sign him. That will fix every single one of your problems. Yeah. I promise.
Sarcasm. Okay.
According to every little kid on TikTok that misses Didi Gregorius in the Yankees uniform, you'll win the World Series. You might as well just put the trophy.
Yeah, exactly. Start
28. Start the parade. Close.
Yeah, put the fences up for the parade.
Didi back. Yankees win easily, but impressive. Before we get over to football, NL Cy Young, AL Cy Young. I think it's pretty easy.
Verlander, Alcantara.
Right.
Yeah.
MVP in the MVPs are easy too.
The Judge has ran away with it. I mean, it could get close again, but
I don't think it will.
I'll question him. And then Goldschmidt.
That's crazy. That it really is too easy. And what's the other rookie of the year?
J-Rod.
J-Rod, he's hurt right now, but
Michael
definitely him.
Harris.
It probably is Harris or Strider, my boy Spencer Strider.
Yeah.
It's one of the
How about
Braves.
we want to talk about rookies of the year? Ian Anderson in AAA.
Yeah, he's brutal. He's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
That's a big fall from. I was high on him. I was big
Yeah.
time on that guy. I
You
loved
were.
Ian Anderson.
You were.
And manager of the year, Buck in the NL, and I don't even know in the AL. I mean, who
It
would
was
be?
Boone.
It was Boone. We
I
had
don't know
two
if it
New
still
York
is.
guys.
Tony La Russa.
Please,
No, what's his face?
Brandon Hyde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it
Look
to
at the
him.
O's.
Look at the O's. Good for them. I just
But
love if if the Yankees were in last place and the O's were above them, I'd be pissed. But the fact that they're above the Red Sox, let's go O's, baby. Like I love it.
playoff spot. I mean, I think they're out of it
Yeah.
now. So the Red Sox had not won a series against a American League East team until tonight because this was a makeup game.
Oh, well, one
Tonight
game
they played
yeah.
one game. It was a makeup from
Not a series.
a series from before. So technically, it is a win, a series win, the first one.
Are we going back to the other makeup games they did, or literally just from being 1-0, it's a series win?
No, you got to go back.
Okay.
So this game is supposed to be part
2 out of 3.
Yeah, so they got 2 out of 3. So good for the Sox. And the O's, listen, impressive, very impressive. Let's see what happens. Who would my AL manager of the year be? I think Terry Francona, actually. I'd say Terry Francona. I just looked at the standings. They're in first place by a game and a half now. That's pretty crazy for a team that literally is not trying to win baseball.
Right, exactly.
And it's not like the Orioles where you had young players and you're really not trying to win baseball games. Like they're just at the beginning of not trying to win baseball games. It's even harder, and they're in first place.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot of football, a couple of things of football to do. A very weird story with Tom Brady. So we'll start with that when we come back after this. Episode 71. We are back here at the Hardline Sports Talk. I'm Michael Merlo. I've got John Michael Mauceri. A lot of baseball we got through. Now it's time for the NFL, the sport that never sleeps. New York City is the city that never sleeps, and the NFL really never sleeps. There's always things going on. There's always football to be played. There's always practice to be had. There's always training to be had. Except if you're Tom Brady. If you just said, you know what, I'm going to take like a week and a half and I'm going to go, do whatever I got to do. No, I wouldn't be joking about this if every report didn't come out saying everything's fine with Brady. It's just he's taking time. He needs to manage his, family and work life. And I just think it's pretty crazy if this is happening, especially now after, he retired and now unretired.
How long were you practicing that monologue for?
No, not long. It actually just all came to my head.
Is that on the fly? Wow, that's impressive. That's some serious improv. You should try Broadway.
I don't know. Broadway isn't my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, stuff with Tom Brady. I mean, when you're 45 years old, you're 7-time Super Bowl champion and, a surefire Hall of Famer, basically considered the GOAT by just about everybody. I guess you could do things like this and whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into it. I feel like it's none of our business. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know if it's good, if it's bad. I mean, supposedly it's not bad, but who knows what's going on. I think the guy's been through enough training camps and, he could show up on game day probably.
Yes, no.
And, win a football game. So
all seriousness, why does he have to be there?
Exactly.
I mean, that's genuinely what it comes down to. And Todd Bowles is like, yeah, why do you have to be here?
He's staying in shape.
Right. It's not like it's his first or second year with the team too and getting, acclimated and building that chemistry. They got it. They're good. And yeah, that's really, it's just interesting. This is really similar to what Michael Strahan did. It was his last season. I heard about it today. Michael Strahan didn't show up at all to training camp. Practice, nothing. Didn't show up until about a week before the season started. Came back, had a good season. Giants win the Super Bowl. Giants veteran say, you know what? Yeah, I'm good.
He retired very briefly. He was probably like, all right, well, if I'm coming back, I don't give a crap about training camp.
Right.
Who knows what the hell's going on?
Like that was me basically senior year of football. Like I didn't really have to practice. Like it was like,
Right. No, I don't.
you
I
know,
don't think. I don't think that makes sense. Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know what, he's good enough already.
Right.
Gonna
Like
hurt the team.
he's irrelevant enough. We don't even need him to.
Right. Yeah,
You know.
it would hurt the team if he continued to play it as anyway.
Exactly.
All right. Let's move on.
Before we talk about whatever we're going to talk about next,
Yeah.
I need you to hear this Antonio Brown.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please. Yes.
Antonio Brown tweets, "My biggest regret in my career doesn't involve my GM calling my GM a cracker or showing up to Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet or throwing rocks at that UPS driver. And it definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around the Jets stadium mid-game while throwing up deuces. My biggest regret is that I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that. Like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks." That's Antonio Brown, end quote, on his biggest regret.
You know,
All
that
right,
was actually
real quick, before you say anything, I don't know if this is like, if I can get in trouble for saying this. Guy's going to be dead in like 5 years. I'm just going to throw that out. I really, like, I'm sorry, but like, he's insane. What are you even saying? I'm sorry if that's insensitive, but like, I feel like this can't end well the way this guy has gone.
there's a lot of things wrong with this man. He obviously needs help. I forget who he was. I think he was trying to partner with Kanye West, and they were trying to build up like a team to buy the Broncos. And when I saw this report a while ago, the Broncos are already sold, not to them. I was like, why would they ever allow this?
Yeah.
This man is just.
Could you imagine the branding of the team and the jerseys and everything?
No, I couldn't. You think Russell would still be there?
No. Let's ride. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
You know, but it's good. That good for AB. Good for AB.
See, he must be very happy. I don't know.
He's living his best life. Clearly, he doesn't have any regrets. So.
But oh my god, he's like how narcissistic is he? That's crazy.
Right.
Compared himself to Jesus.
Got to be some type of person to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, hopefully AB gets the help he needs.
Yes.
Let's move on to another person that I'm not going to go there, but somebody that is clearly not in a good place right now, and that is Mauceri Becton.
Yeah.
Mauceri hasn't played much in the last 2 years. He played one game, got hurt week 1 of the 2021 season, and now he's going to miss all of this season again with a knee injury, and just not what you want to start your career.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy because, you know, obviously it's the guy's career and he can't stay on the field now. But it's not like an I told you so or anything like that. But, you know, the guy has come in overweight. He's faced a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. I mean, he hasn't recovered from injuries the way he should. And I think it has a big deal to do with the shape that he hasn't stayed in. But, you know, what good is it to just keep diving into that? It's an unfortunate situation. And, you know, Joe Douglas, I am still very pleased with the job he's done. I think he set us up well. I think he's done this right, or with, you know, not moving all his cards at once, waiting. You know, we just got Dwayne Brown, who's going to be a very nice replacement for him. But he's going to have to deal with this for the rest of his career, that you drafted a guy who rightfully so is a good prospect, but you knew he was a very big guy who had potential for injury, and stuff like this could happen. He could get overweight, and you passed on Tristan Wirfs, who has been an all-pro already in his career, and no doubt is the best offensive lineman in that class. So
Right.
it's just something you're gonna have to deal with. Can they cover up for it? I think, like I said, the Dwayne Brown signing will help. He's not the long-term answer. The guy's 37 years old, but it could be a worse situation. I still think the Jets are headed down the right path, but that 2020 draft is, and granted, it's the guy's first draft. It's a COVID draft. No combine. Obviously, weird things with quarantine, but that draft is really a bad draft now. I mean, you had Becton, who's entering bust territory, if not already is a bust, and then Mims. Not good. Not what you want.
No, I mean, there's basically nobody producing from that draft class this season,
Yeah.
which you obviously, again, not good at all, but it was his first draft. And like you said, that was the big COVID year, was very difficult. So I don't know if he gets a pass. I mean, this draft class, which looks right now on paper to be a home run, that looks unbelievable. If it is a home run, if he does hit on a lot of these picks, you'll forget about that. You'll
Exactly.
forget about the first draft. But the one thing that we're going to really realize with this team this season is the quarterback. It's very rare that, your young starting quarterback figures himself out in year 3 or 4. That's what the Giants are going through right now with Daniel Jones. Chances are 90% chance, 95% chances that the Giants have a new quarterback. It's not Daniel Jones at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to find out about Zach Wilson after year 2. We're going to have a legit answer on this guy. And you obviously need the offensive line to be where they thought it was going to be. George Fant at left tackle, really good guard and center play. And obviously Mauceri at right tackle. We'll see what happens. I still think it has the potential to be a good offensive line. But the weapons is what I love about this team. You have a great running game. You should with the backs you have. Deep at wide receiver. Denzel Mims, by the way, I was listening to Brian Costello, one of the Jets reporters. Denzel Mims is so far down the depth chart, you don't even want to know who's ahead of him.
Right.
Jeff Smith's ahead of him.
Yeah, I was about to say Jeff Smith.
Yeah, so that's how, it stands with Denzel Mims. But this team is good. They got weapons on the outside. They got tight ends, offensive line. There's no reason why Zach Wilson should not. I shouldn't say break out, but you should see. I guess you should say break out. Yeah, like you should have the answer. Yes, he should be your franchise quarterback. You should have that answer this season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'd say year 3 more is the deadline. But you want to see a big leap this season. I mean, he's got the year of experience under the belt. He knows how to, everything's not new to him anymore. He's been through it all. Second year with the new regime, new head coach, new coordinator, everything is a lot less new to him. And now you, like you said, upgrade massively with weapons. I mean, think about all the additions. You got Breece Hall, you got Garrett Wilson, and then you look at the tight end room. It's a completely brand new tight end room. CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, and Jeremy Rucker. Those are 3 guys who could be, obviously Conklin and Uzomah have already showed that they could be very productive players in the league. And I think that Jeremy Rucker could be very productive. So they are setting him up well for success. It's just now he's got to go out and perform.
We're going to see. He's got everything lined up for him. We think he's got everything lined up for him. It's a young team the Jets got, but I think Elijah Moore, I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be the Jets' number 1 guy. And I really like Garrett Wilson too, but I think Moore is going to be that guy.
I'm just really excited to see the both of them play.
Yeah, you should be. That's exciting stuff.
You saw that little clip? You see that clip? The sidearm?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a nice grab, nice run after the catch. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to be the best duo of wide receivers in your own town because Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson exist, but you can have your fun now if you'd like.
Okay.
Anyway,
that's another thing is with Twitter and training camp, I might as well just unfollow all football accounts and Jets accounts during training camp because all the noise was in the first week of training camp, oh my God, Joe Flacco is outperforming Zach Wilson in training camp. The past week, all it's been is Zach Wilson, another impressive drive, threw a touchdown, 11 for 13. His only 2 incompletions were drops and this and that. And he's throwing touchdown after touchdown. And all of a sudden, everybody goes quiet. Like, it's not like Zach looks so good. It's just like, oh, never mind. Joe Flacco isn't the Jets starting quarterback. Let's just leave this whole quarterback situation alone now. It's just annoying. We give the guy a little time.
Yeah.
What the hell? What is training camp for? I just watched Kyle Higashioka hit 7 home runs in spring training. And the other day, he just hit his 7th of the year. We're in August. So can we stop with how guys look in training camp and how they're performing? Because what's the point of training camp? To get ready for the season. Get the bad reps out now. IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, hit a home run in spring training.
The goal is to get the kinks out.
Yep.
This is your goal. You want to, if you're going to look bad, you want to look bad here. So yeah,
Right.
ton of overreactions.
And he's growing so far. He's getting more consistent. Like, that's what you want to see, progress.
But now there is a situation that I think we can take seriously, I think. And that is the New England Patriots, because according to a bunch of people, a bunch of reporters, the New England Patriots offense has looked so bad that they've been taken off the field. They've been criticized. They don't know who the play caller is, whether it's, ready for this, Matt Patricia or Joe Judge. They don't know which one is calling plays. And on top of it, they just played Thursday night a preseason game against the Giants, where you would think the Patriots offense, Mac Jones, they're playing in a preseason game. Young guys, you need to see what you got. They didn't even play. That's how worried they were about this offense. They didn't even play tonight.
Well, what did we talk about with the New England Patriots this offseason? They didn't really do anything to improve their team. I mean, you look at the personnel, the weapons are dreadful. I mean, your running backs, James White just retired. They're talking about trading Damian Harris. I don't know if that still applies now that White retired, but Ramondre Stevenson supposedly is the number 1 back now. Who else? You have JJ Taylor in that backfield. So not a good backfield. And your receivers, there's like nobody. Jacoby Myers,
Nelson Aguilar,
Kendrick Bourne. Like, these are the guys that, and they go out and they draft Cole Strange out of, Bumble F, Mississippi, or wherever the hell Chattanooga, wherever the hell they drafted him out of.
Yep.
In the first round.
Yep.
A guy nobody's ever heard of, and it was projected to go on day 3.
I keep seeing some rumors that Bill's done.
I was just about to say that. I know it's hard to stop drinking the Patriots Kool-Aid and the Bill Belichick Kool-Aid. The guy is not, Jesus Christ walking on earth. He is human too, and he's really made some sketchy GM decisions over the past couple of years that have proven to not work out. So the guy, I think he's a great football mind, a great strategist, but he doesn't have it all figured out right now. And it's like, oh, the Patriots are going to be this juggernaut this year. They're not.
Well, I'm not saying done in the sense of, oh, he's not as good. I'm saying like done. Like
checked
retiring.
out. Yeah.
Retiring. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I agree. I don't think the Patriots are going to be that great this season. I think Miami will probably finish ahead of them. And you never know if the offense is playing that bad.
I don't want to get stupid here. I really think the Patriots have a legit shot at finishing last in the division. Wow. And I'm when we do our prediction show, I think I'm going to give the Jets maybe 6 or 7 wins. I think the Patriots are right at that number. I do not. Wow. I really don't think they're a good team. And if they go out there and win 10 or 11 games, make the playoffs, I'll sit here with pie on my face and admit that I was wrong. But just from the way I see it, I don't see them winning that many football games.
You'll have to bow down to the god that is Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's
final verdict. Belichick needed Brady more than Brady needed Belichick.
Yes, I agree.
How can you look at the way that the things? I mean, listen, the Bucs have a great roster, and Brady went into a good situation. But how can you look at the way things have gone since they've broken up and say that Brady needed Belichick more?
No, you're 100% right. I mean, he got the Super Bowl. And what Belichick did last season was impressive. But I think this season is going to be the real teller. It's like maybe it's 1-1,
Yeah.
But I don't know. This year will be the deciding factor. And I have that book about the breakup and the history of the Patriots. I didn't even finish it yet, and I got to finish it. I got to read more a little bit. But
Me too. Bad.
That's gonna do it. I'm exhausted. It was a long episode.
Me too. Good episode though. Very, very good episode.
Solid
If
episode.
you're still listening, appreciate it.
Yes, we will talk to you guys next time.